Of course you can just make it up. Why wouldn't you? Hello, hello, hello. Here we go again. Look at this picture. I have made this up out of my head so it could go anywhere. And I'd strongly encourage you to do the same. Whenever you're feeling like you're just, stuck or something, just get into this sort of thing. Make it up. Tap into your imagination and your creativity. The thought I had for this was just a dark room, an industrial type shed or something, and some light coming in a door. That's it. Every element is made up. No reference, no nothing. Just wanted to get it in. I mean, I've probably seen a million of these things. There probably is a reference out there. I don't know, but it's just something that I'm kind of making up the approach. And look, check out the water I just put down. I just put some water, just clean water down, so that when I put this undercoat of warmth down, some of it's going to bleed and soften, and some of it's going to remain all nice and sparkly. And the idea is texture and variety of texture. That variety of texture is what makes a painting interesting. Whether or not it's a landscape or it's a seascape or anything like that, portraits even, textural varieties are so important. And look, a lot of us paint them automatically, but a lot of us forget and we end up colouring in, which we do not want. Just like that do not disturb sign. I think what happened there when I'm filming it, I think someone was trying to call or something and it turned it off, but that doesn't matter. Look at this. Now, I'm kind of throwing paint around. I'm deliberately leaving the bottom, like the floor area, and it'll be more obvious. The drawing will be more obvious soon, but that's all good. I'm just leaving that quite light, and I'm just building up these darks. That's all. Just build them up. Don't have to worry too much about being too precise. As long as you leave your light areas light, where you want that stark light coming in, like via the doorway, for example, leave it light. Don't lose it, and you'll be okay. But just build it up. Look, different colour here and there. Whack a funky colour in. You may not need it. It may disappear, but it might serve a purpose underneath. And that's the thing. If you don't do this sort of thing, you're never going to have it there as an option to start with. So just get going, get stuck in. Look, this is obviously at double speed, but the video's at double speed, but you can see that I'm just throwing the paint on and letting it go. The only rhyme or reason is the layering approach. Now, I've dried that off, obviously. So I've just changed brushes. You can see I've got a flat brush here. I don't use flat brushes a hell of a lot, but I'm starting to use them more and more, especially with man-made objects, streetscapes, all that kind of thing. They can just give you a different edge. That's all. Once again, variety of edges, therefore variety of textures as well. And it's just purely a build-up game. So you can see a lot of these dry brush marks I'm leaving, these sort of sparkly, quick brush marks. There's too much of it there, absolutely, but you've got to have too much of it so you can get rid of some of it, if that makes sense. Sounds like a stupid phrase, but you know what I mean. Now I'm just putting some water, looks like some ultramarine. I'm just sort of strengthening that up. Now I think the general gist is I want the wall above the door to probably be the darkest. And whenever you're painting like this and you're getting these textures, you need to be well aware of the drying shift. Now you could see before, just from the introduction clip, that first wash and the dry off, because there's a hell of a lot of water in there, in the washes, it dries off to bugger all. So you've got to be aware of that and go stronger than you think you need to most of the time. Because I always sort of say, and someone said it before me, I think, I don't know, it's not my thought, I don't think, but it rings true, and that is, if it looks right while it's wet, and it's probably wrong, it's probably not strong enough. So you've got to go a bit stronger than you think. And look, splashing water. I just got some water on the fingertips, splash them onto the paper, see what happens. It's just a matter of breaking things up, that's all. Just breaking things up. And gradually building up. And this is, I'm pretty sure I did see this as a reference somewhere, but it's just from memory. It's not a, I remember there being some kind of bench there, which on the left, and it's just from memory. So and that's the thing. Use your imagination, use your memory. Um, that's one of the things that we lose as we get older, when we're painting, is that willingness to let go, if you like, and just paint with abandon, paint like a kid. I always say that if you say to a kid, go and paint a fence for me, paint a picture of a fence, not paint the fence, um, Karate Kid style. Uh, Go and paint a picture of a fence. Look, first thing they're going to do is grab a piece of paper and a pencil, whatever, and the last thing they're going to do is go to Google and Google images of fences. They're going to go, well, this is a fence. I know what a fence looks like, and they're going to paint it. They're going to draw it. That's the way to do it. Don't get obsessed by your references. Now, color-wise here, I'm just cooling down some of this area at the bottom, um, just to have that yin and yang between the warm and the cool. Always got to have that. If you lose that balance between warm and cool, then I don't know. You end up with a purely tonal painting, which is fine, perfect, no problem at all. But for me personally, it excites me to have that dichotomy between the warm and the cool, and that play between them. So that's a cool thing, I think. Now, while this painting's wet, while this bit of paint on the wall is wet, I'm going into it with thicker paint here for the doorway, and I think I messed the colour up here a bit. So do you know what you do? Tissue it out. There you go. It's fine. It just wasn't strong. It was just too strong. That's all. So just get rid of it, and away you go. And you see here how I'm starting to define the separation in the walls, so the angles and things. But I'm doing it just with dots and dashes. So it looks a little bit outlined at the moment, but work on that, and you take care of those things. But the last thing you want to do is draw perfectly neat straight lines and all of that. You want some character in your work. Now, sometimes I'm constantly squinting when I'm painting, constantly squinting, looking at it, and um, the mistakes stand out really, really quickly. Well, the things that need addressing stand out. We'll put it that way. And yeah, just don't be too neat and tidy. See that little that purely accidental. I didn't mean for there to be a little windowy type thing there, but it worked out, so that's good. Same with that. Now that bright patch on the left wall above the table that's where I'm doing it now. I was leaving it. I wasn't sure whether I was going to turn it into a window or not, but I decided to just turn it into a dark patch of something. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm just a shape. But yeah, I'll eventually sort of kill most of it off, and that's fine. In this process, what I'm looking for, just to give you an idea, I'm just looking for ways to put little touches, because the paint's all pretty much wet. It's look very damp, put it that way. So any little bits I can put in there while it's still damp, that's going to help. I've dried it off now, I think, from memory. dried it off, and I'm sort of starting to think to myself, well, all right, what's the darkest part? What's the darkest sort of section that I need? And I'm going, right, let's get some bit of texture. But the darkest section, I think, like I was saying before, is going to be at the top of the page above the door in that panel there. I've got to separate the tones of the two walls for it to make sense. And the lightest light, adjacent or close to at least to the darkest dark is always a cool thing. I think I turn the painting around in a second, upside down, to do that top part. But I think from here I'm just throwing in random little, stonework, brickwork kind of thing. I don't know, nothing definite, that's for sure. But just little random sections of texture. There it is again. Texture. Uh-oh. Okay. We have some. Yep, that's all good. We are cool. There. Okay. So here we go. Yeah, I'm just sort of still thinking about that. I remember I painted this a couple of days ago. Then, prior to me doing the commentary, I just remember thinking I wasn't too sure about the light around that little panel on the left, but that's okay. We'll see how it goes. So once again, just little marks. Like I'm just sort of envisioning whatever the word is, pipes and industrial crap everywhere. So that's all I'm really looking for there. And it's just to get a feel for it. And all of the texture that's on the wall and everything that's gone prior to this point it's all deliberate. It's all there building up to this feel of activity and busyness. Even though it's there's not sort of too much movement on the walls or anything, but the fact that the texture's there behind it just makes everything else fall into place and make sense. As will the darkening of everything. So we're kind of still in this, for the most part here, we've still been working in mid-tones. There's a couple of little, dark patches here and there, but still just working in mid-tones for the most part. And when we get the darks in and reiterate the shadows and all of that kind of stuff, it's going to come to life. So we'll see this. I mean, I sort of struggle with these legs. I kind of obliterated them really because it ended up just looking better. And yeah, not having a reference was it's just a bit tricky to see where it was sitting. But all good. It turns out fine and dandy. So you've got to be aware of where your light is and where your light's coming from. In this case, it was pretty simple because it's all coming from the doorway. So cool there. But yeah, that looks okay, but I didn't want to leave it that. I wanted this nice dark, I don't know, maybe it was a lathe or something. I don't know, some sort of piece of machinery. Yeah, this is where we can start getting the real darks in. And color-wise, I'm using a lot of sepia at the moment. It's quite a dirty color, so it can muddy the waters a bit, pardon the crap puns, but have a crack at it. It's really nice for, it's basically just dark brown, but it's not as, I like it for using like you would Payne's Grey or something like that. I use sepia and ultramarine to mix together and form a really nice dark. And yeah, it's just one of those things. But yeah, I might not use it forever. It might not be a permanent fixture in my palette, but it's always good to have an experiment anyway. So, and what I've got here is a little bit of red. There's something on the table. I don't know what it is. A can of some sort, obviously. Now, the red just makes it sort of pop out a little bit, of course. And we've got a bit of water. Splash it around. Remember, you're painting in watercolor. We're not coloring in. You should always be mindful of that fact. As soon as you start coloring in, that's when your paintings just, get very boring and very stiff. You don't want to color in. You might want to color in, but do it in a coloring book with pencils. We're painting, okay? Let's have a look. Yeah, more stuff, more shapes, some curve there, which is good. Now, I remember at this point thinking that I wanted to put some kind of figure in the picture, but I just wasn't sure. And so I didn't want it to detract, basically. Now, here is where I start darkening up that left hand. As we look at it now, it's upside down, the left-hand wall above the door. So mixing up a dark, looks like burnt sienna, ultramarine. And once again, just there's not a hell of a lot of water in that mixture. You can see that it's leaving those dry brush marks, which is good. But I'm sort of feathering it out, so it's not, I'm blending it, so it's not just a big patch of darkness. So yeah, you can see that now. And it'll still sort of continue down, feather it a little bit more. Just constantly looking, and it's an experiment. Yeah, there's a sign or something above the door. Can't remember, I think it was an exit sign, that's right. And just little things that are sticking out from the wall. Move your brush in crisscrossy type motions. That's all nice. I'm just constantly looking. I'm keeping an eye on the whole scene. If that whole scene works really nicely, then we should be good. If that whole vibe, you know what I mean? Like, I know if the scene works nicely, it should be good. Yeah, good sentence, that one. But what I mean is just watch everything. Watch everything as it goes. Now I wanted to strengthen up a little bit of the shadow and cool it down on the floor area. Now I did just wet down. You can see in the middle there, those strokes are softening. So I did wet down a little bit of that first. Just so some areas softened and some didn't, basically. That's good. That's what I was after. Nice and strong there. That's good. I think, I can't remember what I did here. I wanted an indication of some kind of something going on outside, but wanted to make it really subtle so we didn't lose any of the light effects. So it was just a little bit of lavender with some stuff. Now, some water, and tissued it off. Now I've got a palette knife, and I've just there's a couple of opaque colours in my palette. There's lavender, there's buff titanium, which I'll use in a second. But just putting some thick paint on the edge of a palette knife, and this is purely just to get a few different looking marks. That's all. Abstracty, yeah, for sure, but no, it's good fun. See, I'm just applying it to the edge. Straight up, yeah, it just gives a little bit of a highlight here and there. But for me, the palette knife thing is just it's a good way to get some variety in your brush marks and some variety in your textures again, So it's good. Don't overdo it. I was very much in danger of overdoing it here, but it's okay. I think I saved it. So that's all fine and dandy. Yeah, just contemplating this figure, I think. Can't remember what I was doing here now. Here we go. Some directional lines on the ground. Remember, I just didn't have enough paint on the brush. That's right. Give it a crack. And that's literally just to lead the eye out or into the painting out the door. Yeah, a couple of little lines, power chords or something hanging over. I don't know. Variety, once again. It's just suggestion. There's barely any painting of objects here. It's all shapes and suggestions, and that's what I was after the whole time. So that's a good thing. Whenever you can achieve that, you're laughing. All right. Yeah, I guess I went for the figure. Could have maybe been a bit taller, but that's okay. I think it works out okay. I sort of struggle with the legs, but it's not too bad. I think it really adds an element of movement and activity to the painting, to the end result anyway. All I'm doing with the figure is I don't want it to be illustrative. I still want to have some mystery about it. So I just don't want to get too crazy with it. Now, I got the original shadow I got a bit wrong. So I think I end up realizing that it was just the wrong angle. I end up realizing that before it dries, so I just got rid of it and fixed it up. You'll see in a second. So for that shadow to be right, the light would have to be coming from out of the picture, which is just stupid. Dumb. There we go. I've realized. Now it's got to come this way. Silly. But yeah, you've got to keep your wits about you. And that's the thing. When you have no reference and you are just winging it, making it up and having fun, you kind of, I mean, you can do whatever you like. There's no rules, but with shadows and things, you want to have them make sense. Right. Yeah, I'm just looking for little things to highlight, and got some white paint here and there, just tiny highlights. And the fact that there's a lot of white or a lot of light coloured paper helps for sure. Still just looking. Oh, here you go. Exit. There we go. How original. Look, I don't mind using opaque paint. This is actually white watercolour, this one. And it works fine. It's just a couple of little highlights, that's all. We're not getting stuck in the weeds with it. We just highlight. And, splash a bit of paint too. Splashy. Make different marks, make whatever marks you want in order to achieve some creativity. You're creating something. This picture didn't exist before it did. It's creation. Now, the good thing about the splatter is that it breaks areas up really nicely, so you don't have to oh, there you go. So you don't have to spell everything out. It breaks it up really well. And we're looking good. Tape's coming off. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Please subscribe and like and thumbs up and comment, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.